Welcome everyone to Gotham City Bulletin. As always, I am a subject. We have Robert and Noah here, and we're here to talk about Pet Cemetery. I mean, the Penguin.
Easy to confuse. They both begin with
Yeah,
P's.
yeah. But no, we're here to talk about episode 3, Bliss.
Yes.
Uh, Robert, what did you think of Bliss? Did it make you blissful?
Yeah, in places. There's some good vibes. I liked this one a lot. This is to me. We'll see if you guys disagree. Kind of more of a slow burn than the last couple, but once you see where it's going, I think the payoffs at the end were really strong. Because there was part of me during this episode like this might be my least favorite so far, but then it really came together for me at the end. And it opens strong. Like this does have a strong opening, so there's a lot of good stuff here. We get a bit more in Victor's head, his little accomplice. You know, we get a flashback with his backstory. We get to see the flood from his perspective and what happened to his family. That was really cool. We see his girlfriend come back into his life, who I think he's been evading her calls the last couple episodes, and now he's trying to get back in touch with her, and we see where that goes. And this is the big like Penguin and Sophia teaming up episode to hit the scene with this new drug and conspire against Johnny Beatty. And yeah, I'm still enjoying the show. I like these vibes a lot. It's just made for me. It's good, classic gangsta stuff.
Okay, well, anyway. Noah, what did you think of Bliss?
What I think of Blease. I will echo a lot of what Robert just said. I've been loving this show so far. I think this episode is fantastic. I do kind of agree that it's a bit of a slow burn. I'd actually describe the previous episode as more of a slow burn. At least that's how I felt. I really like the second episode, but not as much as the first. And I think this picks stuff back up again, especially by the end. And we can get to like predictions and stuff at the end of our review. But I don't have a strong idea of what is going to happen after that because we're making a whole lot of progress, a whole lot more progress than I was anticipating we'd make this early in the season.
I think by the end of this episode, we see some of Colin Farrell's best work as this character so far. That's how I felt.
Oh yeah.
I have to admit, the only thing I was really disappointed by is just it feels like we ended the whole Sophia and Oz partnership too soon. Maybe not. Just that's kind of. I was like, I was really enjoying that. I would have watched maybe another episode or two of that.
I don't disagree.
I also really wish I'd gotten to see this episode a second time because it's so dense. There's so many
Start
moving
fading.
parts.
There's so many things going on.
And I just watched 2 movies so between this and watching that, so my brain is all over the place.
Oh
yeah. Yeah, I like. So I have to admit, I was a little confused at the beginning. It didn't click with me, and that we were watching a flashback until the flooding. This is like, the hell is that exploding? Like that's not how we left off the last episode. Did you guys have that, or were you already aware that we were in a flashback?
It took me a second, but you have that moment when he's inside his family's apartment and they're talking about like the election coverage. I was like, oh, okay, this is before the flood, I guess. So we're gonna see that from his perspective. But it did take me a second to catch on to what was exactly happening.
Okay. Robert.
Yeah, it just took me a minute, but once you're getting to know his family, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I think they said in the first episode that his home was wiped out in the floods. So I did, and between that and the election talk, I figured it out pretty quick. So, but yeah, like it can throw you off though, because the Batman is a like 99% linear movie. That movie doesn't really do flashbacks. And the show hasn't done flashbacks much, unless there's one I'm forgetting. We haven't really done flashbacks yet, so this can be a little jarring. But we also know that there are more to come with
I think this is
Owen and Sophia's backstory, so that can throw you off.
I think this is
we're messing with the structure.
I want to say this is the first actual flashback because in the previous episode we had a little bit of Sophia and Arkham, but that was just a dream.
So yeah, that was more
it's like technically a flashback because it's flashing back to Arkham, which she was actually in, but that was all just a dream.
Right. So the A plot, if you will, is them trying to market this new drug that Oz mentions as Bliss. So I know you said we do speculation later, but I gotta ask: do you think this is connected to something from the comics at some point?
I
Oh,
didn't think
oh, no.
about it until I saw someone talk about it online, and I thought, oh, okay, maybe this a certain character will be set up here, but I could see it going in that direction. I don't think that's my locked in prediction yet, though.
Yes, the famous locked-in prediction of a certain character might be involved.
Well, yeah. I mean, do we want to get into it? It could be Scarecrow.
So,
What's
what
what
did you
was
think?
that?
What do you think, Robert?
Yeah.
I am currently of the opinion that it's probably just something made up for the show and not something from the comics. I hope I'm wrong. The big thing we learn is that this drug is from Arkham, which I didn't see coming, which is part of the speculation, like, oh, maybe Scarecrow's involved, maybe he works at Arkham or something. But currently, we haven't done. We're learning more about what this drug actually is, and like these mushrooms are growing, and how they use it at Arkham on their patients to make them kind of forget stuff or kind of sleep or danger, like something, to kind of lower their, I guess, energy down. So currently, I'm like, okay, I'm not picking up on anything. I kept waiting, or I'm still waiting and hoping that some side effect kicks in where it could evolve to kind of a fear toxin place and work Scarecrow in. I would love that. I just don't know if that's what we're doing. People have also speculated Venom, which the DC Comics Venom, and I'm thinking
Yeah.
no on
Wait,
that.
Venom's not in the DC universe. Come on.
That's a different guy. But also with maybe it's not a fear toxin Jonathan Crane thing. Like maybe Hugo Strange is involved. You know, maybe he invented this drug. You know, maybe they could bring him. Maybe he's working at
Perhaps.
Arkham. You know,
I,
so there's a
I
lot of
think
different ways they could go. That would be cool.
unless the cliffhanger of the show, and I guess we're just gonna do speculation because I didn't want to forget this, and I know I would have if we waited till the end. Um, unless if it is fear gas, I feel like that's the cliffhanger that leads into the Batman 2. Because
Yeah.
like, what do you do with Scarecrow in the show? Like, because you're not gonna have Batman.
Exactly.
Right.
I think Hugo
be my
Strange is the more
main-
interesting choice.
Yeah,
I'd be fine with either.
I'd be fine with either. That was my main issue with it being Scarecrow. It's like, what are we gonna do with a fear toxin plot in this gritty gangster show? So I wouldn't want it to become focused on that, but I think it would be cool if there is that connection there.
I will say there's a scene in the episode. You guys probably didn't have this thought, but there's a part near the end at the party when Victor's handing out all the drugs and he starts having a panic attack and seeing the explosions. For a minute, I was thinking, "Oh, is the fear toxin kicking in? Is he reliving his greatest fear? Is that what? Oh, he's having a panic attack."
Well,
Okay, I was wrong. That's how it felt for a
Yeah.
second.
Yeah, I don't, because I wasn't thinking about that until I heard talk about it online. But I just had this thought: it could be. I don't know. It's probably not this, but it could be like those side effects getting triggered by him thinking about that. But
Yeah.
it might not.
We
be
also
that.
didn't see him take any, so I don't know. Just for when you
True.
started seeing explosions and stuff, I thought it was literal, and then I was like, "Oh no, he's having a panic attack." Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Were any of you guys, were either of you guys thrown off by that, or did you immediately get what was going on with him?
Or for a second, I thought that the club was blowing up. And I was like, oh no, wait, yeah, we're doing something here.
Yeah, I don't remember what my reaction was. That's part of the problem with I haven't only seen this once. I might have even missed that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch this again. Yeah, because I haven't
I have
seen
a
this
weird
since
thing where
yesterday.
Victor was my favorite thing coming out of the premiere, and I like him a lot in the second episode. I didn't love his subplot in this episode.
Interesting.
Really?
I feel like the resolution is too rushed, and they bring out that like girl that he knows out of nowhere, right? Like she's not set up before. I didn't miss something, right?
No,
She is set up.
he's been avoiding her calls the last
Yeah.
couple episodes.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember if like they had mentioned that or set that up.
It's just a quick little thing in the second episode where you see his phone. He gets a notification from her, but he like quickly puts his phone away, and that's really all you get.
It's one of those things I'm of two minds about, because if this was a CW show, we would have stretched this out for like 10 episodes.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of glad we're getting through it quick, but I don't disagree that we could have spent like another episode and a half on that, him making the decision he makes. But in the context of this episode, I thought it was set up well enough. How
Now,
he has
admittedly,
his
before the
epiphany.
comment section come at me, yes, I'm aware that they may resolve that next episode, and he explains why he chose what he did at the end. But just watching this episode in a vacuum, it's like, oh, already?
Yeah, for sure. I do think there's every possibility, because he is so like flip floppy on this issue, that he could have another opportunity to betray Oz later in the season, and we're just setting
Mhm.
that up right now. But we'll see where it goes.
And maybe, especially because I have to assume the truce with what's her name,
Sophia.
Sophia is over now. Like, she's not gonna forgive him leaving her there.
Yeah, it just depends on how he spins that. Like, what does their next interaction look like? I don't know, but yeah. Before we get to the big scene with him and Sophia, I thought that argument he had with Victor was great. That's
Oh,
really
yeah.
emotional. And the thing with Victor's arc this episode is he's been under the impression this whole time that he's been kind of a hostage. Like he doesn't have a choice. And when they have their big argument at the end, and he's nervous about leaving because he thinks, well, if I leave him or tell him I'm going to leave him, he might fucking kill me. But then when
And he
Oz
does
finds
gun
out,
him in the bathroom.
he does do that. But when they're having that argument and Oz says, like, what the hell, you could have left any time. Do you think Oz is being honest, or do
No.
you think that that's just a lie?
No, I think he would have killed him if he stepped out of line a little bit.
I think, and this is just my opinion, if Victor just bounces and disappears, I think Oz is sad about it, but like I don't think he sends
I
people
don't think he would
after
kill
him
him
or
for wanting
waste-
to leave. He would kill him for if he fucked up again. Real quick, anime fan liked the episode, but wished that each episode
Oh,
was
good.
from Penguin's perspective. One of the things that I really impressed about the first episode is how every scene had Penguin in it. The sidelining Penguin in the third episode kind of bothered me. This is the TV format. You can't have an entire 8-season episode or show without focusing on side characters.
And I wouldn't say he feels sidelined. He's still pretty front and
It's-
center in this episode, but we got a little bit more from Sophia in the previous episode. Now we're getting a little bit more from Victor. So I think it's trying to evenly share the screen time between everybody.
And Anime Fan says the scene where Penguin confronts Victor is arguably the scene that has Colin Farrell's best performance as Penguin. Excuse me. That is not his best scene. His best scene is in The Batman. Hey, come on, what are you showing me?
It is a great scene.
Great scene. Classic.
But I think
No, it
though
is a
that
good
Oz,
scene.
I think that Oz is genuinely heartbroken though that Victor was even considering
Mm-hmm.
like wanting to quit. Where it's like, oh, I thought we had a good.
because he's really happy at the end.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And when the reason, even if maybe it's a bit rushed or we could have spent more time on it, I think when Victor decides to go back for Oz again, this is kind of a dark choice for him but what he's thinking is like, okay, I could leave with my girlfriend to California and be nothing again, or I can stay here and be a somebody. And that's really
Yeah.
gotten in his head. And that's set up at the start of this episode with his family where he says,
Mhm.
well, what we have is good, but don't you want more, Dad? Like, don't you think we
Yeah.
deserve more? Which isn't inherently a good or bad thing. It's just a motivator for him.
And I like Penguin's point of view of that is being honest never gets you anywhere.
Yeah.
Which in Gotham is true.
Yes.
And I really liked
and it
Victor.
follows that up with that interaction. Sorry, no, real quick.
Yeah.
That is paid off as well with that interaction with the cop, where that cop was
Mhm.
clearly going to arrest him for like next to nothing until
Mhm.
he found that $1,000.
Yeah. That's a good scene too. But yeah, I really like Victor's whole arc in this episode. And like I said, I do think it has the potential to be expanded on later. But you get that scene at the beginning where he's talking to his dad about, don't you want more out of your life than just this? And then later, you have that scene with Victor and Oz having dinner together, and that stuff is great because Oz is like, oh, I think he would have been proud of you to see you know, like this, and you're just thinking, no, he wouldn't. He would be very
Mhm.
disappointed with his son.
I also love that it took 3 episodes for him to realize, oh, I should probably pay him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been feeding him.
Yeah.
He's got places to live.
Anime fan, I hope the Victor's romance subplot doesn't take up too much time from now on. I
think
actually
it's
kind of
done.
agree.
Might be
Yeah.
done here.
No, yeah, I mean, I think it's done here, but if it's not, I actually kind of agree because I didn't get anything out of that.
I thought it was fine. I love though when Oz leaves and he's like, "Don't do anything stupid," and he immediately calls his girlfriend and invites his girlfriend over. So I thought that stuff was fine for Victor's arc, and I get why he makes the choice he makes at the end. It's just furthering his story.
Well,
Now, if we
Robert,
follow her for a whole California episode, then that's a problem.
I was wrong. Actually, Sia's going to come back. She's going to have McGregor syndrome, and he tries to
God
cure
damn
her and falls into it. It's all coming together, Robert.
Her real name is Nora.
Also, one of my favorite scenes is when he's having dinner with Oz and the waiter's trying to take his order and he's stuttering and take a while. And the waiter tries to speak for him and he's trying to be polite, but Oz says, "Hey, shut up, let him finish."
Yeah.
That's when you see there's obviously a couple different ways of looking at that, but that's where you see Oz is starting to really respect him and see him as a person now, and is like, hey, he's his own person. Let him finish.
I do think that if Victor doesn't end up betraying him, I do think the show ends with Oz killing Victor to push him to that next level of now he's a supervillain.
Yeah,
but I think that's going to be a really hard decision for him because of that scenes like that scene where you can tell he really does care about this kid, even though he's using him.
Yeah, no, Victor would have to directly betray him, if someone one of the Maronis tried to get Oz to kill Victor, or for some reason I don't think he'd do it, but if I think Victor would have to directly betray Oz for him to go there. But I think that's possible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you set up the scenario, but I do think that is a highly possible way that this ends.
Now with the big Sophia scene at the end, that's the other scene that I think is some of Colin Farrell's best work, where it's like, damn it, Colin Farrell, you're too good of an actor, because it's so emotional. He's really selling me on it. And then Victor comes and picks him up and he's like, forget about Sophia, leave her. Let's go. And I'm like, oh, so that whole heart to heart. Do you guys, now again, Oz, as we've established, is a guy who his self-preservation trumps everything.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you think he does or ever did to any degree care about Sophia?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't care how good your self-preservation is. You can't fake that kind of emotion.
I felt the same way.
Yeah, and I think he really does care about Victor and Sophia. I think he really does have a heart deep down inside. But like you said, his self-preservation just trumps all of that. At the end of the day, he knows what kind of world that he lives in, and he's going to make whatever choices he has to survive.
So what you're saying, though, is he's not a monster. He's just ahead of the curve.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
It's all coming together. No, also, so since we're on that scene, I guess I think it was Noah that brought this up, or maybe Robert. Maybe Sophia was framed for the Hangman stuff.
Yeah, that's what we're implying. We still don't have the whole context for that, which is interesting. And if she was framed, why did her dad put her in Arkham? What did she do for him to orchestrate that?
Well, I mean, we know what she was accused of.
Yeah, she's accused of hanging several women.
Yeah.
But yeah,
which
why
maybe
did she go to Blackgate
or Arkham? Why?
Well, no, I know why she went to Arkham is because she was accused of murdering a bunch of people. The question is, why did she go to Arkham instead of Blackgate?
We were saying last time that, again, if Falcone maybe it's like, no, I'll work the system and get her into a mental institution, not literal prison. But I'm not sure what his
In
motivations
Gotham,
were.
Arkham might be worse.
That's correct. So I don't know, but we did talk about that last week.
And the way she talks about it is it was a choice like that she didn't agree with, and it makes me wonder if it was to get her out of the way.
Yeah, maybe. And again, like I don't know if this has anything to do with anything, but we made a really big deal about Falcone having a thing for strangling women in the Batman
Yeah.
movie. So
Could be
Yeah.
him.
let's
Oh, you know, you might be onto something. Maybe she took the fall for her dad's crime.
maybe
Yeah.
like that could be it.
And I'm not sure. Perhaps she's in Arkham because maybe she has already had a history of mental illness or something like
Mhm.
that because of her upbringing with her father, and they
Yeah,
just
that's
kind of
very
pulled the
possible.
string. They kind of like pulled the strings in some ways to just and have her end up in Arkham rather than Blackgate. But I don't know. I think that stuff's going to be fleshed out more in the next episode because I don't know if you saw the trailer for that, but they do show some scenes of her in Arkham. So that's
Are
the
we
stuff
finally
I've
gonna
been
get
waiting
Mark
for.
Strong? I've been waiting.
Yeah, we are finally gonna get Mark Strong,
You
and he,
bastards.
I've been waiting for that because I like Mark Strong, but his voice, he doesn't really sound like Falcone, but
No,
I have to see
that's
it more
such
in
weird.
context.
That is such weird casting, but like he's also a great actor. Like I like
I
Mark
just
Strong.
I
So.
don't understand why you wouldn't get John Turturro.
I'm just guessing he was busy. That
Yeah.
would make the most sense. That
Doing
he just couldn't
what?
do it.
The second Big Lebowski spinoff.
Oh my god.
No, that's not actually happening.
But I like that Penguin's like first taste of real power was getting her out of the way, and he was elevated for it.
Mm.
So that was implying, or no, I guess outright stating, that the position that he has in the Batman he got from screwing over Sophia.
Yeah.
Yes. And we
Yeah.
find out in this episode that he used to be her driver.
Yes.
That was his job in the Falcone family back in the day.
Do you think they'll have an origin for why he waddles?
Well, I
It's his
mean,
foot.
you do see his foot in the first episode.
Oh, true. I need to rewatch
and-
this show.
Anime Fan says, I think Penguin has a crush on Sophia. I don't know. I think he's more scared of her. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
I think he cared for her at one point, but it wasn't like that. It was just she's my boss, and like if he's her driver, they spend a lot of time together.
Yes.
Because
Because I
think
could.
he respects her more than anything.
I only point that out because I could see maybe a lesser show going in that direction.
That's
I'm not
the
sure
CW
if this
version.
would. Yeah.
That's the
I think
Gotham
this-
version.
I think this show's maybe too good for that. And based on how events turn out in this, I assume they're not going to be working together anymore. So I think we can just get right to them being enemies again.
Well, and apparently, Austin was telling me that a lot of the early reviews said that episode 4 is kind of the turning point. So I'm guessing something big is going to happen there.
Yeah, which is crazy to me because something kind of big happened here at the end of this episode. So it's
Yeah,
like, what more
like,
can they do?
I don't know if something big happens in the next episode or if it's just a really good character study or both. Like
If people are saying that's the turning point, that means something has to have happened for it to turn into a different direction.
yeah, I'm just not sure. We'll see.
Make something up, Robert. All right, Robert, real quick, just because I've been curious, I've seen it a couple times. What are you drinking? It looks like beer.
Oh, it is not. It is Canada Dry zero sugar cherry. It's not great,
Oh,
but I'm powering through it.
I like Canada Dry, let alone zero sugar version. Where did you get that? Hell?
I don't know, Walmart or something.
Oh, anyway.
A lot.
Oh, also in this episode, we meet one of the drug dealers they work with, that older guy. I immediately recognized him. I was like, "That's the guy from The Tick, from Amazon's The Tick."
I was trying to figure out who that is. I'm like, who is that? I've seen this actor before.
Was he?
Who did he
Was he
play in
Arthur's
The Tick?
stepdad or
It
something?
was his stepdad, yeah.
Okay.
And which version of The Tick is this?
The
The
Amazon
Amazon.
one, the most recent one.
The Peter Serafinowicz one, yeah.
Yeah, he had a recurring role in the show, but that's what I
But,
recognize.
Also, with this, since you bring that up, we get more information that the Falcones push the Triad out of Gotham, or they push them more to be more relegated to Chinatown in Gotham, so that another piece of world building there. And I thought it was funny because, or one aspect of it was funny because one of the guys in charge was called like Link or something like that, and I was just thinking about Link from Legend of Zelda.
Well, since we're on names, since Austin brought this up, there's a gangster named Squid. And he's like, "Is that a Sid the Squid reference?" I'm like, I hope. I don't know if it is.
I
But that'd be
had the
great.
same thought too.
Yeah.
I had that same thought too. I think it is a Sid the Squid reference, but it is pretty throwaway. Like that's just one of the names of Victor's friends, I guess, at the beginning.
Did the Penguin introduce Sid the Squid to Matt Reeves' Gotham epic crime saga?
Whoa!
Here's a 10-page article on it.
I haven't been paying attention to that whole clickbait mill. The ones that I've seen are from like Austin sending like the Victor Freeze one. But
I showed the Victor Zaz one.
And yeah, you found the Victor Zaz one. I'm sure that at least one article about Sid the Squid has been made after this episode.
Well, boys, I am running out of things that I really are pressing to me to talk about. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to bring up?
Well, so the second episode, they tried to frame Johnny Vitti for killing Alberto, and in this, they're actually using the blackmail that Falcone had against him. So they're actually doing something with Johnny Vitti here, and there's a good scene where they're confronting him, and he's like calling Oz Penguin, and getting under his skin, and he blows up at him. And for a second, I was like, "Oh God, no! Don't make that same stupid mistake you did at the beginning of the series." But thankfully, it didn't go there.
I still don't know how I feel about that choice, but we'll see how it pays out.
I think it's great so far.
It's great. Now, okay, I guess the last thing we should leave on though is at the very end of this episode, after Oz and Sophia's big heart-to-heart, it's Sal Maroni's wife who shows up and is like, "Oz, you're fucking playing us. We're gonna kill you." Do you guys have any theories on what tipped her off? What mistake do you think he made? That she's suddenly turning on him, because that kind of came out of nowhere.
About that. I was like, how do you know?
My theory, and this could be incorrect, is that maybe Johnny Vitti's also working with the Maronis.
Oh, maybe.
And that he tipped them. That could be Oz's big fuck up. That's my current theory.
Yeah, that's possible.
He would have told him.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, because it does kind of come out of nowhere in the moment. I do remember in the previous episode, though, you did see that they were a touch suspicious of what's going on with Oz, but like there was no concrete explanation for it.
Right. And Vitti's really been trying to get rid of both Oz and Sophia. We also get that scene with him and Sophia where he's like, "Hey, you're going to Italy. And if you don't go to Italy, then I'm telling people you went to Italy." So he's really been trying to get rid of both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he does have a thing going on with the Bronies.
This episode, more than the last two, really feels dependent on whatever happens next.
Right, yeah.
This is such a setup episode.
Yeah.
But Robert, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. It's really good. I'm still really into this show. We'll see how big the next one is. I guess the last thing I wanted to bring up, I just want to know if you guys had this. There was a weird thing for me with subtitles in this episode where I had subtitles off, but every time a cell phone or a news report come up, they would have subtitles in front of it.
Yeah.
Where I was like, It happened like 5 times, and I don't remember that happening in the first 2 episodes.
It happened every time there was text on screen. I actually didn't pick up on it, but I was watching it with my friend, and he pointed it out. And I was just like, "Wait, what?" And I rewound it. It was doing that. I was like, "What's going on?" And then
I always have
every
subtitles
time-
on, so I didn't notice.
well,
Okay.
yeah, I didn't have subtitles on either. But it was just showing subtitles for text that I could already read on screen. It
Yeah,
was
that's
very
what's
strange.
weird. And that's something where it's like if somebody said, "Oh, hey, that text is kind of small. People are gonna have trouble reading that." You could have just zoomed in.
Yeah.
That was such a weird choice. We'll see if that pops up for more episodes. But yeah, it's not a big deal. It was just funny.
I think that's just a glitch with the HBO Max player.
It could be.
Yeah, I don't know if it could just be for this episode. It could pop up again next week. Who knows?
And it would make sense if there are settings for like people a bit impaired, or like as an option, like, oh, there's not just word subtitles, not just spoken subtitles, but also subtitles for like text messages for people who have
Yeah.
trouble seeing. Like that makes sense. That's just weird in like the baseline normal episode when I have the subtitles off, and that still popped up. That was just really charming.
And then I went into like my settings when that happened, and I couldn't really find an option for that specifically, and it was turned off. So I was like, "What is going on?" There's no way to fix it. But
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
strange.
Not a big deal. It was just funny.
Yeah, it was really weird.
Yeah, I always watch with subtitles, so I didn't notice. No, final thoughts? Anything else you want to talk about?
Well, final thoughts is I'm loving this show so far. It's ramping up. The fact that they've made so much progress in just 3 episodes, I really don't know what else to say. Like what I could predict for the rest of the series, but I'm really excited to see where it goes. So yeah.
Yeah, more than ever, I don't know where this is going, and I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good feeling. The only thing we're pretty sure on is, yeah, this partnership with Sophia isn't lasting, and the
It's
end
game
game of this
over,
show is
man.
probably her being the main villain. That's the one thing we're kind of sure about.
It's game over,
was it?
man. Game over. Well, this was a good episode. We will be back next Monday to talk about episode 4. If the early reviews are true, we'll have a lot more to talk about then. Have a good
Yeah,
night,
hopefully.
everybody, and thanks for watching.
Have a good night.